Here's our Brussels sprouts that we've got in here in the garden. I only have 10 plants, but at the same time, you'll see how they're really growing and getting some size to them. Here's our Brussels sprouts that we've got in here in the garden. I only have 10 plants, but at the same time, you'll see how they're really growing and getting some size to them. Here's the pipe I was talking about that I'm going to use for my support. What I'm going to do is when I put them in, I go down to the ground and you'll see there's the stem that's in the ground. That's where the roots are. I come away from that, about 3 inches, something like that, 2.5, and I'll put that into the ground for each separate plant, not just one for all of them. And that'll help support the plant as it's growing up. As soon as it gets really tall, it's going to be almost to the top of this pipe. And that way it'll give it support while it's growing. Okay? And a lot of times what'll happen, it'll start to lean. And if it leans, in fact, these are leaning a little bit now. We had a lot of rain in the past and a little bit of wind in the past couple of nights. The ground was soft, so they have started to lean. And we want to keep them as straight as possible. Okay? When we look at the Brussels sprout plant, you'll see how these lower stems, what this plant is doing is this leaf is producing a lot of energy. What I do is I snap them off about like that, and I'll go all the way around the plant and just get rid of those. Get rid of the yellow one because it's not any good anyway. And you don't have to take them all the way back. You don't want to, because that's the core of where the actual Brussels sprout will come from. Okay? And I got one back here. And get rid of him. And that should be enough. I'm going to leave this one here. It's going to give it a little bit more energy as it starts to grow and it produces more leaves. And like I said, you see how it's leaning just a little bit? I'm just going to take and be able to tie it back just a little bit, just enough to keep it support. And that way it will continue to grow and get its size that you want. At the same time, by removing those leaves, you've given the plant a place to actually set those Brussels sprouts so that you get a really good production out of them. The third thing we were going to talk about was supplemental fertilizing and giving the plant some extra nutrients that it's going to need as it's producing this actual Brussels. One of the things that's important to remember that in Maryland especially, that we were a tobacco state years and years and years ago. When a lot of the ground that we had in Maryland had tobacco going on it, tobacco uses up all the boron and in the soil. Well, it's a minor element, but at the same time, cold crops, cabbages, broccoli, cauliflower, even the Brussels sprouts, they need to have some. So what you do is you side dress it as the plants get large. Before they actually start to produce the cabbages, the little Brussels, you take and mix up some material, take a regular 10-10-10 fertilizer, and then for each plant in your garden, you're going to use a tablespoon of 20 Multane borax. You can go to the grocery store, and it's what you use for laundry, for helping to whiten and clean, but it carries elemental boron, so it's really good to be able to use in and for the plants. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to show you how I will take and side dress these just with one, but it's very simple. Here's the mix. You'll see where the fertilizer has been mixed with the borax. Boron is white. It's a powder, and when you mix it together with the fertilizer, it helps it to be a carrier, and it sort of opens it up so that you can get it in. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to simply take, and it doesn't take much, but you'll see I don't put it down a row. I'm going to take and sprinkle it all the way around the plant. And what it does, now I'm going to work it in. just with my hands. I don't want to, you know, bother the plant, but you can see where there's a little bit of the white still there. That's what will feed that plant, and as soon as it rains again, and with the dampness, it'll go right into the for the root system, so it can use it. Because it's elemental boron is picked up very rapidly by the plant. It will make a big difference in its production, and when we get back to actually seeing the Brussels sprouts growing, you'll be able to see what the difference is. We'll do the same thing on the broccoli. You'll see it's right next door. These plants are going very well. I've got probably most of the heads have started down in the base of the plant, and in another video we'll show you what that is. I wanted to go back and just remember our kale that was barely growing. Well, here's the adult stage, and we've been eating on some of the romaine lettuce, and we only have a few left. But do you notice that I had the straw, and see how the straw is working so well? Yes, the wheat straw, the wheat is germinated, but at the same time it's kept down the weeds, and that's what's really important. This is a butter crunch lettuce we're going to probably eat that this weekend, you know. And the kale we're going to have, you'll see where some of the kale is starting to come back right in here, along the edges, even right in here. I'll probably get one more crop off of the kale. I'm going to take this kale and do the same thing with it. Back over here, I wanted to show you again, our cabbages are starting to produce baby heads, and if you remember, now you can really see the beets. A lot of the beets have their true leaves now up here, and got a few, like this one leaf here. I'm going to take it off so that it's more sunlight can get in, but it does not affect the cabbage in its production. Okay? Alrighty. I will talk to you all later. Thank you.